Hi everyone. Today I use Hi everyone, how are you? John Bonham here, Not at that part yet. Hi everyone. Today I use notification. Hi everyone. Today I use Cella Green and I talk about Michael Wittmann, the Black Baron of World War II. Stay tuned. John Bonham here, Cape Cod Wet Shaving. Another day, another shave, as always. Coffee of the day. Maluz toasted almond cream. Good one. Haven't used that in a while. Always take a swig right after I say it like it's a commercial. And today, I will be using Cella Green across the board. I'll be using the pre-shave gel, the soap, the splash, aka lotion, and the post-shave balm, aftershave balm, whatever. My hardware, I'm going to be using the Hone stainless steel razor that I won, I think just over a year ago from the Canadian Mafia show. How are you doing, guys? Awesome win. And last second, I almost went with I almost went with Voskhod razor blades. Last second, I changed it because I haven't used these on camera yet. These are the CVS Goodline brand blades. I bought these ages ago with the intent of using them, like a review almost, and they promptly sat in my razor box for a long time. So I decided I'm going to use a fresh one of these today. I am also using my Cella brush, which I actually really like. I reminded myself last night to look it up, but I forgot to look it up this morning. I can't remember if this is a Boar or a synthetic. I think it's supposed to be a Boar, but the bristles are really, really, really fine. So I think it might be split Boar here, if that's a thing. Because if it's Boar, those are some really thin Boar bristles. So I wonder if they took boar hair and purposely split them and thinned them out. Oh man. So I'm excited to use Cella on here. I haven't used Cella on camera, I don't know if ever. I don't think I've ever used it on camera. Maybe once, I'm not sure. I don't think so though. The green I'm new to. So the green I picked up over the holiday season. I used it once over the holidays and I did a terrible job with it. I did not lather enough, I don't think. I blamed it actually on the brush being too soft. But as it turns out, Cella Green itself is actually very soft. It's so soft that they cannot make the 1000 milliliter brick like they do with the tallow-based Cella Red. So it is a soft soap. So it was obviously operator error, not the product, as it tends to be. I don't know if you remember that video where I talked about how bad Barrister and Man was when I first started, until I realized how awful I was at lathering. So it is what it is. And then I just saw Phil at Bricktown Grooming talking about how badly he did a lather the other day. How you doing, Phil? And that just happened to me, I think, 3 days prior to the shave I had just done before that. So it's funny, you know, all these years and all the expertise these guys have, and it happens. So today I'm going to try to, I feel more confident I'm going to do it justice today. So that was the pre-shave gel. I put a lot more on my hand than I needed to, but it is what it is. All right. So the scent notes it says aloe, all aloe vera. I don't get an aloe vera scent out of it. It's citrus, pink pepper, geranium, and cedar. Very citrus forward. Aloe vera is it's a very medicinal scent. I grew up with aloe vera plants. In fact, if I had a bee stinger or a scrape or something like that, I would actually go and break off a piece of the aloe vera leaf, I guess, stalk I would call it, and squeeze some of it out and rub it on a wound, and it worked wonders. Really good stuff, but it is not very potent, the smell of it. It's a very unmistakable planty green medicinal kind of scent, but not overpowering at all, in my opinion, of course. So let me load that blade. This is a killer razor. I love this razor. So if you've seen these are made in Germany. And I posted these, and I made a claim that only CVS had them, and then someone actually came on and sent me a picture of a Dollar Tree or something similar close to them, and it was like the exact same thing, just rebranded. And Tobin, how you doing, Tobin? At Tobin's Throwbacks has talked numerous times about the rebranding of razors that are all the same depending on region. So I don't know, but I will be using that today. First time on camera. I don't think they're bad, honestly. So today, 5 minutes. Damn it, I do this every time. Today I'm going to be talking about Michael Wittmann, the Black Baron. You saw the photo of him on the, the thumbnail there, the picture of the video. That was him. So Michael Wittmann was a German Waffen-SS commander. I'm going to be using a lot of fs and vs and all that. I did take German in high school, so I have a little leg up on the pronunciation, but I am not an expert at all. German Waffen-SS commander during World War II. He rose to the rank of SS, you ready? Hauptsturmführer. All right, which is the equivalent of captain in our military. The umlaut over the U is odd because it makes you purse your mouth to try to do an E, but you also make an O at the same time, so it's like E. I look ridiculous on the video, but whatever. That's my German teacher, Herr Rosso. He taught me that. So during his career, he is credited with the destruction of 138 tanks and 132 anti-tank guns. He is also credited with an unknown number of other various vehicles, armored and armored and non-armored alike, making him one of Germany's top Panzer aces. And this is a photo of him. I like this photo of him a lot with the binoculars. I think it's more of a painting, not a photo. Illustration. I'm sure it's based off of a photo. But there he is chilling in his Panzer. On top of his Panzer. Actually, I think he's on top of his Tiger tank. He is widely known for the ambush at the Battle of Villers-Bocage, which is French, and I hope I'm saying that correctly. I'm trying. No offense to anyone if I'm saying it incorrectly. So I'm taking my time loading here, because the last time I did not load nearly enough, I don't think, to do this justice. I'm going to go ahead and, I'm not going to bowl lather, I'm going to face today, just to save some time. Too much water, see? Alright, he was born April 22nd, 1914. It's right around the time of World War I, which began in 1914. In the village of Vogeltal in Bavaria. He joined the German army on October 30th, 1934. The Nazis came to power in 1933. So he had his prospects known and joined the military, as a lot of young men did, in a up-and-coming Nazi regime. And one of the big things about the Nazis that people loved was their fight for the return of German pride following the Treaty of Versailles in World War I. To the point that there are actually some historians that link World War I and World War II. They consider the 20-odd some years between the two as a lull, not separate incidents. Because World War I led to the onset of World War II directly. All right. October 31st. He later joined the SS in October 1936. So he was in the Army and then applied for the coveted SS. Coveted at the time. Because that meant you were the elite of the elite. The creme de la creme, if you were in the Nazi military, is joining the SS. All right. Now, the Waffen-SS, the SS in general are notorious, but especially the Waffen-SS. For those who don't know, they're the ones, they were basically some of the kill squads. Or I'm sorry, excuse me, that's the Einsatzgruppen I'm thinking of. The Waffen-SS fought alongside the military in the field. I'm sorry. Almost made a mistake there. All right, there we go. Still a little, see what I mean? Now I underdid it, go figure. A lot of people swear by this vegan stuff, especially people who avoid the tallow-based soaps. Someone on, I think it was Badger and Blade, made it a point to say that they stopped all tallow soaps, including Cella Red, and went to Cella Green, and they loved it. It's in their top. It's one of their favorites. So, there we go. So on April 5th, 1937, he was assigned to the Leibstandarte. Leibstandarte, SS Adolf Hitler. That is literally the bodyguard battalion of the SS, which is what the SS actually began as. There's a photo of Herr Wittmann when he was younger. That was him, I believe, in training for officer school. I'm not sure. He was given, so he joined the bodyguard unit, was given the rank of SS Mann, which is private, and a year later he would participate in both the Anschluss of Austria, which was the annexation of Austria into the Third Reich, and the occupation of the Sudetenland, which is one of the things that Hitler fought for during Neville Chamberlain's appeasement process leading up to war. All right. CVS Goodline blade, Hone stainless razor. Ooh, got caught on my cheek there. This is an excellent razor. I am very comfortable with it. I love the weight behind it. There's so much weight to it that you just really don't have to do a lot on your own. Just let the weight of it bring it down. I could see why a lot of people would not like these blades. I think they're mild. They're obviously shaven quite well here. But feathers or rubies, they are not. So, he first saw action in the Polish campaign and then again during the Battle of France, also known as the Fall of France in World War II. All right. He assisted the 9th Panzer Division in the capture of Greece. And the 9th Panzer Division would go on in their own degree of infamy, in their glorious downfall later in the war. So it was during Operation Barbarossa, which was the invasion of the Soviet Union, that Wittmann would soon rise to fame. His actions leading to this point had convinced many of his superiors to recommend him for officer training in 1942. Okay, I skipped this part that I'm about to tell you for time, but I got to throw it in. So one of the things he did was, I forget the battle. It might have been during the Battle of France. But there's he and his platoon, in the apex of his career, it was him and 3 or 4 other tanks They came over a rise and were promptly fired upon by anti-aircraft weapons hidden in some trees and some woods. So what he did was he fell back, discussed a plan with his other tanks, and then he went over that rise again and purposely kind of went back and forth while these anti-tank guns kept firing at him. And what they did with every shot, obviously, was gave away their positions one by one. And so his battalion, his platoon, circled around and took out each one of them one at a time. So he used himself as bait, literally put himself out in harm's way, things like that. That was one of the most prominent things he did, were his super, and he actually did another incident where he was forbidden to engage with the enemy. He was just out on reconnaissance and he ignored that order and ended up destroying a number of tanks, I believe Soviet ones, T-34s. So yeah, stuff like that. So he had come in enlisted and they flat out were like, this guy's officer material. So he was recommended for officer training in 1942, which he did. All right. So a newly commissioned officer, Wittmann was assigned to the SS Panzer Regiment 1. Okay, nice. He was then given command of a Panzer III tank. All right, there's a photo of Herr Wittmann and a soldier. Whoops. I forgot to tape the other side of this page, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to figure something out there. Give me 1 second, okay? All right, that's annoying. I'm back. I put a piece of tape facing this way and then a piece of tape facing this way on either side of the page so I can just flip it over and tape it. And I forgot to do that. I also nicked myself right there. I pressed really hard. A lot harder than I should have. Because I get around that mole and I get nervous and I press down and I nicked myself there. So, okie dokie. It happens, right? There's some of that leather. Illustrious leather. By 1943, he commanded a Tiger tank in response to, which are, the Tiger tanks, real quick, were made in response to the Russian T-34 tanks. Now, the T-34s, at the time, were the best tanks in the world during the war. Got something into the old mustache. So the Tiger was put out, and the Tiger was a very feared tank. And it was an 88 millimeter gun. That's probably not even close. I'll have to go back and look. I forget the barrel size. I want to say 88 millimeters, which is huge. But I do know it had a range, given the right conditions, of 2 kilometers, so about a mile, mile and a half, where it could fire upon you and destroy you. It was so feared that a lot of intel was dumped into keeping an eye on them, if possible, at all times, just to know where they were being sent. They're so dangerous and such a threat that you would actually plan moves, military moves and strategies around the presence of these tanks, whether they were there or not. Because it was a game changer. Almost impervious armor, big guns, and the T-34s did not stand a chance. So, all right. See, once again, I feel like I'm not doing enough justice to this soap. It's too thick. There we go. Where was I? By 1943, he commanded a Tiger tank, and by the Battle of Kursk, he commanded 4 Tiger tanks. His own included. Pretty sure. So there's 4 or 5 in his platoon. I think it was 4. So on January 14th, 1944, Adolf Hitler presented Wittmann with the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross. The oak leaves were added on January 30th due to his count of 117 tanks destroyed in his career by that time. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, here's the presentation of Hitler, giving him the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross. All right, Hitler became kind of notorious at handing these out. There's a very despicable video of him the last time he was videotaped in public, handing these out to Hitler Youth at the Battle of Berlin. But that is him giving Herr Wittmann, Captain Wittmann, or Commander, whatever, the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross. There we go. There we go. Look at that. Gotta let this lather sit and age. That's what I'm doing wrong. I lathered it up, put it in the bowl, and let it sit there, and it turned into this. There we go. Found it. There's the sweet spot. So the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross. There was the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross. Then there was the one with oak leaves. Then there was the one with oak leaves and swords. And then the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross with oak leaves, swords, and diamonds, which is the highest one basically you could get. And it was just them adding distinction to an already existing award. So here's the Knight's Cross. All right. And for editing purposes, I'm going to step in. Here's the Knight's Cross with oak leaves. Okay. So that's the one he ended up with. During the invasion of Normandy, his battalion was ordered to move there to offer support. It took 5 days for them to arrive where they needed to go. And due to the German divisions buckling and moving south, the Allies entered the gap left behind. So if you looked at a map, the beaches of Normandy were actually kind of up top, maybe northwest, I believe. And they dipped down into France this way. And all these lines started retreating. And there was a bulge. So because of this bulge and the retreat, the Germans were trying to send in more troops to stop the retreat, and due to the bulge being there and the lack of obvious German resistance, the Allies punched forward. Now, the next day after arriving, so he got there and literally a day later, the British 7th Division was encountered by Wittmann and his platoon. They had entered Villers-Bocage, and Wittmann had no time to assemble his men for battle. And so instead, he hopped in his tank, and he and his crew in the tank set off alone. He was caught completely off guard by these British. He had stopped in this village, I think, to recoup, figure out what they were going to do, wait for orders, whatever. And in came a British convoy. Now, he started by destroying the rear vehicles to prevent retreat. Now it was a convoy, so it was in a line. He moved himself up, and he was going parallel to the village. He was on the outskirts of this village going parallel with it. And quite literally, like a buffet, he went up to the rear, took out the armored vehicles in the rear, because there are armored vehicles in the front and in the rear for protection. Took them out so they couldn't turn around. And then he literally went along and just was taking out vehicles as he went along. Okay? As he approached the opposite side, so he was on the eastern part of the village by this point, he was met by a handful, so they took out their light artillery, because by the time he got to the eastern side, to the front of this convoy, obviously word had gone up like, hey, we got trouble. They took the light artillery out and then moved their medium tanks up, ready to go, okay? And these medium tanks started firing upon him, and his tank was eventually disabled by these medium tanks. Now, this was not his demise. It just knocked him out of the battle. However, his other platoon by this time had come and relieved him, and they had basically taken out the rest of this convoy. So he was knocked out of the fight, but it was ended by his men. All right. Here's a photo of the ruins. This is the exact convoy that he took out. Okay. Doesn't really look that big in the photo, but it was a long convoy. It stretched the length of the outskirts of the whole village. It was a big convoy. I didn't get a direct number of vehicles in this convoy, but it was big. Accounts are different about what happened exactly, but the end result was that in less than 15 minutes, okay, Wittmann and his platoon had destroyed 13 to 14 tanks, 2 anti-tank guns, and 15 transport vehicles in less than 15 minutes. This convoy was decimated. They had only enough time to take out Wittmann, and then they were just completely overrun by the rest of the battalion, the platoon there. All right, so this soap, I haven't talked about the soap, and I didn't feel the need to because it's a widespread use soap, but for those who've never used it, it's extremely pleasant. It is not overpowering. It doesn't fill the room, but it is very nice and gentle. Obviously, this is for people who want vegan soaps or for more sensitive skin, I believe. It'll be good at that. It's a very fresh scent. It's very nice. I like it a lot. That's something I like about Cella too, is the underwhelming aspect of it. I like stronger scents. I've said that before. But that doesn't mean I don't like the scent or the soap. Now the glide and the slickness are pretty good, because when I was spreading it on my face, when I put it into my mustache, it was plenty slick. But not PAA slick for a vegan soap. I personally like the red better, I think. But to be honest with you, I think part of that is nostalgia. Because Cella and Pro Rezo were 2 of the first soaps I bought ever. Not some of the first I bought because I was curious. I mean, ever in wet shaving. I think it actually literally went Pro Rezo and Cella at the same time. Because I always credit Pro Rezo as the first soap I purchased to go in the direction of wet shaving. Sir Hair Classic Barber was the first artisan, full-on artisan soap I got. But Cella was definitely up there with Pro Rezo as one of the first ones I purchased in wet shaving ever. So, but I think as it stands, I'm a fan a little bit more of the red. By the way, you can go and buy, this is the lid from a box, a gift box, in case anyone was going to ask. I thought of that last minute. I would have punched myself if I didn't think of it. 50 bucks at the razor company. And this is where I got the brush. That's one thing that I've been asked before, is where I got that brush. I saw it maybe a year and a half ago. Desperately wanted it, never saw it again, and then I saw Jason had this. I think he's sold out at this moment, but he might get more. But this is an extra thing of red and aftershave. Good giveaway material, I think, because I already have those. And I actually, speaking of giveaways, might have something in the works involving someone, a very decent person, who offered to do my first, he wanted to sponsor an episode and do a giveaway. So there'll be more on that. I literally just talked about it with him yesterday, so I don't want to say too much, but I'm super excited, very flattered. You know who you are, man. Thank you so much. Let me rinse this off. I'll finish this up. I'm already at 30 minutes. It happens. Be right back. All right, how are you? I am back. I just burped too, of course. Good timing. Correction. It would be my first sponsored video, sponsored not by a retailer, to review a product. It would be just a full-on sponsorship just because, by a friend of mine, good friend of mine, and fan of the channel. So thank you. You know exactly who you are. I'm very excited and flattered. Very humble, man. It means a lot. Thank you. All of y'all have been great. My follower counts are slowly trickling up, but that's all right. I do it because I like it. And the people who come back like every time, y'all are amazing. Honestly, you always take a moment to comment, and it means the world to me. That's why I do it. It's a lot of work. Like all this stuff, I share a bathroom with soon to be 6 people, 3 kids, my wife and I, and she's pregnant with our 4th. So this isn't here all the time. I have to like hang all this up. You know, I go and write down 3 pages, 2 to 3 pages of stuff, and then set up, do the video, clean everything up. Then I go, not edit, but I paste everything together, make it prettier, you know, smooth out the edges, and then come back and do it again the next week if everything goes well. So that's also why you'll notice I never release one during the weekend. It's always now when my kids are at school. I have the house to myself. I'm usually doing something. Some of you I talk to who are fellow stay-at-home dads, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's hectic, but it is what it is. I love it. I wouldn't keep doing it if I didn't love it. It's a lot of extra work. It takes like half a day roughly, ish. But I like doing it. So thank you very much. So let me finish this up. So for these actions, so he blew up 13 to 14 tanks, 2 anti-tank guns, 15 transport vehicles. He was recognized for this, and for these actions, he was awarded the Knight's Cross with Leaves and Swords. Boom. Which is that one. All right. The one with diamonds, in my opinion, looks kind of silly, a little blingy, but there you go. That's pretty cool. Speaking of blingy awards, man, Herman Goering wore the most corpulent of the group, made up his own awards and then wore them, and they were very glittery and shiny. It was funny. All right, so German propaganda had made Wittmann a household name. They swiftly used this incident as well, especially towards the later parts of the war. They needed all the propaganda they could get. Due to the embellishment by said propaganda, it is difficult to accurately give credit to some of his accomplishments. So the propaganda was so huge over this incident at this village that the British looked into it and considered it an embarrassing, just up and down, utter failure. And it was pretty bad, but I mean, it wasn't as bad as the Germans made it sound. The Germans made it sound like they just walked straight into a trap and were butchered. That wasn't the case, because again, they did disable his tank, so they were fighting back. They just didn't have, you know, much of a chance, considering the circumstances, you know, element of surprise and all that. So, just cleaning this off. So also because of that, historically, you got to pick and choose through a lot of stuff. Wittmann was killed on August 8th, 1944, during a counterattack in France. All right? So basically, Normandy was the beginning of the end for him. He had decided to participate, this is a kicker, due to his belief that the company commander of the troops he was with at that time was inexperienced and ineffectual. Just not good at his job. Maybe a little arrogant. I don't think really it was. I think that he just knew he was that good, and he just looked at this guy and was like, you're going to get these guys killed, so I'm coming too. He was only 30 years old when he died. So this is a photo of his tiger that was destroyed. This is the actual photo. This is where he died, everything. This is the death knell of his tank after he and his crew had died. So much like the Red Baron of World War I, there is not one sole person that can be attributed to actually killing him. Remember with the Red Baron, Manfred von Richthofen, there were actually 2 or 3 people that tried to take credit. It was eventually a Canadian soldier that history, they think, really did it. But, so there were 2 guys and a tank vehicle. The 3 of them all took credit for it, but based on most eyewitness accounts of people who were there, from both sides, mind you, they think this is what happened. Shells from a Sherman Firefly, so Americans, penetrated the upper hull of the tank. Sherman Firefly was a lighter assault. It was a, you'd have to go look it up. I should have picked up a picture of it to post here, but it ignited its own ammunition. So it punctured the top of the hull of it just hit the right spot to puncture, I think, in between the turret, the upper hull of the Tiger. Ignited the Tiger's own ammunition. The tank became engulfed in fire that blew off its own turret. And the entire crew inside died, I would say, rather terribly. So, glorious end, as often is the case with these guys. So, I'm a huge fan of the channel War Stories on YouTube. If you ever go look at them, rumor is, I don't know if you know this or not, I'm kind of a history guy. But that's one of my favorite things. So one day I went to go watch an episode of something, and in my recommendations was the Black Baron. And I went, what the hell? How did I not know this? So, very cool. There's a lot more to him. Even now, I overdid it. 35 damn minutes, man. That's terrible. So, I am going to wrap it up here. If you've been on the fence about Cella Green, it's good. It's not terrible. I love Cella, as I said. I love Cella Red. I would use green again. Sporadically. It wouldn't be a daily driver for me. But if you like vegan, I think you'd like it, honestly. Great brand. I might use, and I did use them both during Christmas time. I forget which one I used first, but I wanted to use the other because I got green. So, I think I used green first, and then I was like, screw it, I got to use Cella Red. But anyway, thank you again. I know this is longer. I didn't mean to. I need to work on that. I might start speeding up lathering or something like that to make these shorter, because now they're starting to stretch towards 40 minutes, and that's just unacceptable. Thank you guys for sitting there for 30. I appreciate it. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks again for watching. Really appreciate it. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Hopefully I'm not. Oh, at the end of this, I'm going to put 5 photos that I just had to throw in here, okay? The first photo is another one of Herr Wittmann and his entire platoon. It's all of him and all of his men, okay? That's the first photo. The second photo is him and his wife, Hildegard. Yeah, that's her name. That was on his wedding day, this photo. That's her in her dress, you know, him in his dress uniform and her in her wedding gown. That's his bride. So then, the third one is one of Herr Wittmann and all the awards that he won in his career, okay? Then there's a montage, 4 photos of Herr Wittmann on his tank. 4 different photos taken of him. I think they were for propaganda purposes. Pretty cool looking. And the last one is a photo of him that was redone in color. So you kind of get a gist. It's a more human looking photo of him. Yeah, he was one of the bad guys, but he was good at what he did. And his story is pretty neat. So, hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate it. Until next time, yeah, happy shaving. Enjoy the rest of winter. Be safe. Take care. Later. So there's Wittmann and his platoon. Wittmann at his wedding with his wife, Hildegard. Wittmann and all the awards he won. A montage of Wittmann, more than likely for propaganda. And a restored color photo of Wittmann.